Joining us on the show this week on our subscriber town hall edition of Reverse the Verse, we've got animation director Steve Bender and technical director of content Sean Tracy. How you doing, man?
Doing well, thanks, man. How are you? It's great to.
It's great. Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Good to see you again, Jared.
Welcome aboard. This is your first
Welcome aboard. Yes, I just started working here.
This is your first time on the new Reverse the Verse this year.
The new Reverse the Verse. Yeah, the table looks the same. People looks the same. I don't know.
It's not this.
Oh, it's a new Reverse the Verse. That's right. I'm excited to be here for my first time.
Now, because every show is somebody's first show, there's always we get new backers every week. Mm-hmm. Let's take a few moments to explain exactly who you are and what you do for Star Citizen. We'll start with you first, Sean.
Do you see that? You started with me first this time.
It's alphabetical order, Sean.
That's confusing.
T before B.
Is it? Anyways, so yes, for those that don't know me, I'm Sean Tracy, the technical director of content specifically. I run the tech art, tech animation teams, as well as the tools teams within Star Citizen, so basically, and Squadron 42. So anything that goes through some kind of DCC package, digital content creation package, like Max, Maya, Houdini recently, has to run through me. Yeah, so generally responsible for all the content within Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
I think we might be the only two people in the company that have content in our titles.
Yeah. Which is interesting considering I'm technically not even a content team, but that's the whole thing. Technically, not a director either. See, technical director, technically not a...
Yeah, not there.
It's fail. Okay.
Steve Bender.
Let's move to Steve.
Who are you and what do you do for Star Citizen?
Well, Sean forgot to mention that most of his job is putting up with me bitching at him about how something doesn't work or how we want to get it done faster.
It's a solid 60%.
Yeah, Steve Bender, I'm the animation director, so I oversee all animation content in the game. We shoot motion capture and things like that. So the questions that you guys have for the animation, I think that's going to be fun. Take a look at some.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So this is the subscriber town hall, and of course, unlike regular RTVs, we take questions exclusively from our development subscribers. So if you have questions for either Steve Bender or Sean Tracy, you can submit them in one place and one place only, and that is in the subscriber channel up on Spectrum. Now, Spectrum is our bespoke communication platform available on robertspaceindustriescom. So if you're watching on Twitch or you're watching later on YouTube where you really can't submit questions, get a subscriber to submit your question for you in the subscriber chat. We did collect some questions ahead of time. We put up a thread earlier through the week, so we have a couple questions ahead of time. But Steve, before we get to this, I can't help but notice that you have a thing on you brought something with you.
I did, Jared.
What did you bring with you?
I got this as a gift. It's quite wonderful for those of you who watch American football. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. And if you don't mind, I'm just
Go Cowboys.
We're gonna put it up right. Right back here for a moment. Whoop. Here we go.
Oh, it totally worked too. That's not gonna fall and break at all. That'll be fine.
Already off the rails. All right, so like I said, guys, you can submit your questions on the subscriber chat. Please preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. That'll help us pull them out from all the other conversation. Starting with the thread where people were already submitting throughout the week, the first question that was on there, voted up by the majority of subscribers, are there any core technologies needed that are not listed on the current roadmap? Now, again, the current RSA roadmap only goes out to 3.5. So
only 3.5.
Yes. Well, there's
I know. It's
that's
just
not
funny.
the end of the road.
Like, no, of course.
So are there any core technologies that aren't listed on the roadmap?
It's a good question, actually, because it really depends if we're talking core technologies for Star Citizen or core technologies for Squadron 42. Now, we try to keep that as coplanar as absolutely possible, but they are two very different types of games, right? One is a single player sort of little more cinematic scripted kind of experience, whereas the other one is a huge MMO. I don't think there's any massive ones. I think maybe, and in case the roadmap doesn't have this, but the solar system transition So going from Stanton system to another system, so the wormhole kind of idea, that's got to be addressed. So I don't know if that's on the roadmap, and if it isn't, it probably should get there at some point, but we need to get Stanton done first, and then we'll fly out of Stanton. But in terms of core tech, the thing that wormhole stuff relies on is the object container streaming, which is very, very busy right now, and definitely represented on the roadmap. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, there's opportunities like core tech changes or things we'd want to do, but they're not necessarily blocking Star Citizen from getting made to any effect. So the major pieces of tech that we needed for this game are almost there. Really only the object container streaming is one of the biggest ones, and that changes the paradigm with how we work with objects and levels. So that's a big one.
It's also a good time to remind folks that, as has been stated in Calling All Devs, has been stated in other episodes of RTV, it's been stated in ATV, everywhere we can. Not everything that's being worked on is on the roadmap.
Yeah, none of my stuff is.
The stuff that you see on the roadmap are the things that we intend to release in those quarters. So there are things that will be worked on continuously throughout 2018 that may not be coming until 2019.
Sure.
Those are not on the roadmap. And then there are things that we do think will come in 2018, but they're smaller features. They don't fit easily within one of the existing epics and stuff like that. So yes.
There's stuff and maybe to dig into that a bit, like we've got tons of R&D projects that we work on that, again, if we put that on the roadmap, people feel pretty disappointed a lot of the times. There's a ton of times just general game development that happens all the time, right?
You explore an idea.
Yeah,
you have to try something before you know it doesn't work.
That's exactly it. And sometimes you say, no, we're just not going to do that, right?
Because it's about making fun, right?
Yes, exactly.
If there was a manual for fun, everybody would be able to do this. So
yes, it's true.
It really is, in some cases, a trial and error.
One of the things I like to say is that this is game development, not game construction.
Yes.
We are figuring out the answers to these things. We are figuring out the things we want to do and then how to do them, as we go along. That's what game development is.
Sure.
And if you're doing something that's truly never been done before, if you're doing something that's truly innovative in the industry, there is no instruction manual for it.
No. And a lot of stuff, in isolation has absolutely been done. So it's like, I can't think of a really easy example right now, but just because one feature existed somewhere, that's never been coupled with this feature, right? And sometimes it's the combination of the two things that make it really difficult, anyways. So
now, Bender, you take a lot, probably more than, actually, as I'm thinking about it, you and Chris take more trips around the world than anybody here in this studio. I can only speak for the people that I work with in this studio. So you spend lots of times away, you're gone for months at a time, and then you come back, and we're like, oh, Steve Bender, man. The whole energy in the place changes.
It does. It's really sad.
You just came back from one of these extended trips to Europe. What can you tell us about what you were working on there?
Yeah, so I was meeting with both the German studio and our two UK studios, the Derby studio and the Wilmslow studio. We were going over combat AI within Squadron and obviously within Star Citizen, making sure that we had the different user stories or plans in place and reordering those, talking about what it is that we're looking for on those cases. Also, we shot 2 weeks worth of motion capture for combat AI things. And so it's been sitting down with the team working on the various FPS aspects and social aspects and things like that throughout the world.
Okay. Now, you mentioned a term there, user story. That's, for folks who've been following the project for a while, that's actually a relatively new term. User story is one of the ways well, why don't you tell us? I know it's related to Jira's. It's how we assign. We want this task. It's task. We want the player to be able to do this.
Yeah. So you can say, well, I want animations for people running around and shooting or something like that. But what a user story is designed is that it's about what the player or what the particular user is something. In the case of Sean's guys, when they sometimes will do tools, it'll be the end user would be the say the animation team or something like that. But that way the player, it's from a player perspective. So we're saying as a player, I want to be able to feel like I am hunting AI or something like this, right? Hunting enemies. And then what we do is we start to break that down to see how it is that we're going to actually make it feel like that.
So we have some questions coming in from the live chat now. The first question that came in says, can Bender share with us any details on cool melee animations?
Cool melee animations. Well, you guys have seen some takedown things before, I think, right? So some stealth sort of takedowns and things like that. And we're looking into things such as, obviously, if you can stab someone with a knife and you can hit the melee button, you can hit them with your weapon. What if you don't have a weapon in your hand? What can you do there? So that is, again, one of those user stories where we want to be able to, without a weapon, be able to fight somebody else.
That was going to happen eventually.
Now, one of the questions from the Spectrum said, when might we see a move to inputs recognized via hardware ID instead of the Windows input enumeration? Now, this is probably a question for you. Right now, when folks equip their HOTAS and stuff like that, the client uses the Windows enumeration instead of the core hardware ID. So for people that have multiple inputs, it tends to become difficult to.
Yeah, and we rely heavily on DirectX input, DX input for this. It's an entire library that is in Windows. And generally, we're probably not going to replace that. There's just, it's a lot of work. That's kind of the thing, to ultimately just give it, consistent IDs or whatever. And quite honestly, Windows has got to fix this. This is something that's going to come from the drivers necessarily. So we're not about to change the entire input system for that. But is there something that we could put in place so that if it does detect the same kind of things, it's not going to remap, or change the IDs? Yeah, probably. It's just not really the highest priority thing right now, to be fair.
A question from the live chat for you, Steve Bender. Any progress on character animations that interact with other character animations, like a high five? Like I trigger a high five, and then they trigger a high five. Like high five, and then like that.
Yes. At the moment, that is not on the short-term goals, but absolutely, especially in the case of Star Citizen. We talk about how we want to make a living, breathing universe, and that a lot of our players will say that they're really interested in role playing and living within that universe. So connections between players is going to be very important for us. But right now, what we're concentrating on are the core pieces of the game to build this out properly, one-to-one, and then from there we will extend out.
I know we had a conversation, you and I feel like it was probably a year ago about combo animations where somebody does something. I think we had I shouldn't have brought it up because I can't remember the details of the conversation. I thought as if I started talking about it, my brain would kick in and then remind me of the details as I went, but it didn't happen. So next question for Sean Tracy.
Yes, sir.
Will long hair and long beards be implemented as part of the character, and will they be affected by wind and gravity?
Yeah, yes, actually. So we got a couple different hairstyles that are coming down the pipe. We haven't talked exhaustively about it for this year, but the DNA gene splicing stuff, which is going to be what the part 2 of the character creator ATVs are. So we've come up with some solutions within there that are going to allow us to do this stuff, which is super nice, especially to do with beards, which are usually one of the harder things to do when you're customizing and changing a face behind the scenes. But one of the trickier parts to it is we've got to deal with gravity. So gravity right now is just local to the player himself. So all the character attachments they are affected by gravity. It's just not actually the gravity in the world. It is just this kind of fake value that sits on the character only. So we've got to receive that from the planet. We've already got the Z-up problem kind of fixed up for the simulation. So that's one side of it. But yeah, that's the first thing we've got to do. And then on the wind front, the wind got unified to a new system. So the CryEngine had wind before, but again, it was real Z-up kind of assumption, right? With a level plane, and wind was just an XY sort of idea, and there were little boxes that would fly through the world. So now that you're around a planet, we've got to evolve that entire system around a planet, and Marco Cubero has done that within our engine. So we've got to get that now listening, or get the hair listening to those values, basically. There's a couple other things with that, is that short hair still has to be affected somehow by wind, because otherwise it just looks super static. So it's whether or not we actually want to get world wind for that, or whether you just kind of fake it a little bit, where you've got, wavy stuff going on. There's no real reason to spend a ton of performance on, just simulating somebody that's got hair, short as mine or so. But the longer hair, yeah, we've got to do something with, definitely. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that when you throw these helmets on, we still have the sort of helmet hair, which is a little more like the back of my hair here. We put the Snoopy cap on, and we actually remove that hair so that it's not simulating inside the helmet. It would look a little silly. But yeah, now whether we go Fu Manchu kind of beards, that's going to be totally up to Josh, and whether we want to support those. But yeah, they're going to simulate just like it's as crazy as it is, this silly monocle chain and things like this. That's all going to simulate and be affected by what's going on in the world.
It's very interesting.
It's very interesting. Where's $1 million?
Yeah, I can do that one.
$1 billion. There it is.
Ah, I can't. My arm's not.
Oh, you can't pull your arm back far enough.
I need to do yoga.
Oh,
Steve
shit.
Bender.
More cargo.
The last update on Squadron 42 showed how different NPCs with different personalities would have different animations. Will we, as the players, have a chance of selecting those animations for our characters?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. One of the things that is really important overall in Star Citizen is player choice, and you're able to customize your ships. You're able to customize your loadout, your armor, what you're wearing, and everything like this. What your face looks like, what hair you have. But typically in a game, you're not able to customize the specific animations that you have. So animation-wise, one of the things we wanted to do is to make sure that you could customize that, so that you could begin to, as we put more walk cycles into the game, and we create this appearance as to not everyone that walks around walks in the same way, that we could then give you the ability to access some of those, so that you can start to customize your character. Say there's a more funky walk, and that's what your character's like, that you could choose that, and various other things as well. So different emotes and dances and things like this.
Very cool.
It's even as simple as the idols, right? Like, I mean, you wanted like a different idol for like fighter jock stance versus...
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. So what it's the whole thing, right? The whole package where you could begin to start customizing every aspect of. We're already doing that with the clothes and with the character faces and the colors of everything and things like this. If I want to stand there and my guy is kind of, that's who I'm playing, this kind of broken down character, I should be able to eventually be able to customize those aspects.
I think that all sounds great.
I was just cleaning it up.
Yeah. Sean Tracy,
Yes, sir.
feel like a question about physics grids?
Sure.
Okay, from the live chat here, it says, Actually, I guess it's for either one. Can you animate interior physics grids? Specifically in the whole series, the interior grows longer when it extends.
Is that Matt Intrari in the chat?
Yeah.
Because that's funny. Because no, he's asking about that every day. That's exactly something we need. And one of the things that the physics guys are looking at now is the SDS and the physics for the ships. And that ship specifically is the main reason that we have to look at this. That's going to absolutely have to be supported. So can we do it right now? Nope. But we're going to have to be able to with the hull.
I think that's the being able to separate and change physics grids like that is a big part of our non-death states for ships too.
Yes.
Because right now the reason you shoot a ship and then it explodes and everybody dies is because we can't actually separate the.
We just can't animate it. We just can't move it around.
Yeah.
That's the trick. So with some of the transforming ships, we totally worked around this fact, right? Like the Reliant specifically. Yeah. There was a bunch of things that they had to do, and again, that's why I laughed at whether that was Matt Intrari or not, because he's talking about this all the time. So he's really after the physics guys for this, but. Like with a lot of things, it's not going to get a huge amount of priority until that ship is coming closer. So, and I think it kind of is. So, we're getting pretty. Does that work? No, that doesn't work. Of course not.
What is a major piece of tech that you are most looking forward to joining the roster of Star Citizen? We know
Object containers, like technology bits.
Yeah. What's the tech? What's the one piece of tech that you want most?
Object container streaming by far, because that's the thing that is changing. Our paradigm has already shifted away from levels and prefabs and these kind of things to the object container approach. But it's not complete until we've got full asynchronous spawning across all those object containers. We're able to profile them, and then even better is once we're doing that, we can rework or update.
Don't stop it. Keep going.
Update the tools so that that's a fail. With all that power, you couldn't even balance. No. With all the infinity stones, couldn't balance it. I just lost my train of thought. I don't know what the fuck I was talking.
Object container streaming.
Yeah, object container streaming. So that's the biggest one for me, anyways, because it's stopping us from scaling huge, and it's also making it not confusing but unclear how to write certain pipelines or tools for the design guys to work within it, because we don't fully have it. Now, they do work with object containers, yes, then it'll be a matter of streaming them, but once it's a matter of streaming them, it's a matter of how big are they? Can we profile them? Can we export them in the build process? Can we share them day to day? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered within there. So for me, it's object container streaming and asynchronous spawning. Yeah.
How about you, Steve Bender?
Wow, that was a really intelligent answer.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
par for the course.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I don't know if this actually answers the question, but I'm looking forward to especially the core AI, especially the core AI combat things getting worked out, because even if you're not necessarily interested in going to new places, meeting new and interesting people and shooting them in the face, there's still a lot of the aspects of the gameplay that go into this, which once we have that set and ready to go, we can extend out, and it really becomes a far more deeper experience for us animation-wise.
Cool.
A couple more animation questions on the list here. What animation was the most interesting or funny to work on?
What animation was the most interesting or funny?
Can you demonstrate it on Sean Tracy?
Oh, yes, I most certainly can.
The kissing emote, that's where he's going. The kissing emote. You're going to go there, aren't you?
Well, no.
It's okay, I'll help you out.
No, we had, wow, that's a really good question. Because we've done a lot of different mocap shoots and a lot of different content for the game. Probably the one that got the biggest sort of result on the set, where people really got tied into it, were the takedowns. And there was some really brutal stuff going on there.
I think we demonstrated those before.
Show me 7.
Show you set.
Oh no,
Okay,
he can't. He can't show me. No, he ain't showing that one. That's the best one, though.
There's a really good one that we're holding on to at the moment.
And by we,
I specifically want to be working on that particular asset. Yeah.
Can you describe it?
No, I know which one he's talking about.
You can't describe it.
He's been reluctant to talk about it for some time.
Yeah.
It's a good one though. He showed me. It's a good one.
He saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. He had to talk about it for a while, and he realized, oh wow, this is the one he's been talking about for a while.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, he's got.
Although we did have on a at the end of every mocap shoot, so not every day, but like say you do a week or 2 weeks or something like this. We do just a little like 5 minutes at the end of the day. We try and cut off 5 minutes early, give everybody a bit of a breather there, and we just ask the actor typically to just give me something. And we had one of our mocap actors who is a special operations member, and he was talking about there's the orange Fanta or something like that, and there's a commercial.
Wanna Fanta? Don't you wanna?
And there's like this guy in this orange suit who just runs up to somebody and goes like that and runs away. And this guy did this on set, and I lost my mind. Like I'm glad we did it at the end of the day with 5 minutes left, because we never could have gotten control of that set ever again.
Guys. The next animation question right after that was, we've talked a bit in the past about fast entry and exits to spaceships. Any progress on that?
Yeah, so I've seen this sometimes, people asking about this. We actually shot 3 different speeds based on the role-playing intent that you're going for and your gameplay intent. One was sort of I'm walking and I'm climbing in. I called it Grandpa Goes to the Store. Then there was combat, which is just, say, scramble fighters, and you're getting in. And emergency, and that would be, say, the entire Vandal horde is chasing you, and you need to get into the ship right now. The same thing with exits. The first one that we've implemented is the combat set. And just like anything else when it comes to animation, when we get those things in and we go through playtesting, we may need to speed up those assets and stuff like this. But actually, we built each of the ships on set, on the mocap set, and had the actor try and get into it as quickly as he could. So the answer to that really is yes, and there will be faster ones coming. They're a user story, actually, for getting in an emergency sprint sort of speed, and also getting out.
I cheered in my head a little bit when you were able to pick that up. Just
Getting better.
in my head. Yeah, you're adapting.
How many of these do you have?
Oh,
Feel like a question about volumetric clouds?
Wow. Sure.
How are volumetric clouds coming along?
I don't know. I actually don't know. This is something that, honestly, the best guy, well, okay, if we're talking volumetric, VDB, gas, coil stuff, I think we just showed a whole bunch of it in ATV yesterday. So, I mean, they pretty much see where it's at. If they're talking about planetary clouds, that's a whole different conversation. Now, you might think that you could just use the same thing, but the problem with clouds, and real ones anyways, that like on a planet, they change. They're always moving, they're shifting, they're flowing, these kind of things. The coil and the volumetric nebula gas stuff is all, as good as it looks, it is static. It is an export of a voxel simulation, one frame of it from Houdini. So that's not something that we could do unless we had clouds on planets that just don't move, which is just not where we want to go with this. And the Frankfurt engine team, guys in the engine room, will be working on this. I just don't know when. I think it's going to become very important with our next couple landing zones, though. That's the thing. I just don't know where it sits on the actual roadmap itself. Now, we've got kind of, I don't want to say half-assed ways, but yeah, kind of half-assed ways of showing intermediate approaches, right? Exactly. Let's keep it professional, right? Yeah. So half-assed ways of doing just the clouds, kind of particle techniques or just some real simple 2D stuff. But I know Carson Wenzel, who's one of the best rendering engineers I know. He's tech director on our project. Did a lot of the rendering work for the atmospheric scattering, and he wants to continue that onto the clouds. So I know he's got some great ideas for this. It's just a matter of time. And since he's heading up the performance team, which I hope everybody's been experiencing, the huge wins that we've been making on the performance front, is once that's in a good state, that's probably where I guess he'll move on to. But yeah, I can't say for sure. I mean, he's my senior, so I don't really know.
Gotcha. Here's an interesting question for you, Steve. It's about combining mocap captures. Like, can you technically combine multiple mocaps from multiple sources and create a new single entity that's unique from the other two, like an alien animation or something, what they call it? Is that?
Well, you could certainly load on one layer a animation and then create a second layer and load a different animated result onto that. But what you end up getting actually is a bit of a mess. You're not. I don't think you would get something that looks like a believable alien. You're going to get something that kind of and stuff like this.
I missed it. It was cut.
Right.
Now you do that in front of the green screen.
And
I call it.
Yeah, it would just look completely broken. And the problem there is that you're then unable to control the outcome of the hundreds of animations that come off of that. So could you have a happy accident and go, wow, I hadn't thought about that, and then start to plan out how you would create that later on? Maybe. But it's, I would assume it would end up being more of a technical mess.
Actually,
yeah, no, it's. I don't know. Yeah, I think if you start combining and start to look like stuff I would make, compared to that, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Well, if you're talking about something, let's say you have an alien that has like the bottom half is mechanical and the top half is organic, and there's an actual disconnect between those two. You could certainly do something like this, but what you're doing is you're combining the top half is something with the bottom half is something else. You're not actually meshing the two of them together and just sort of going like, I got red, green, blue, purple. You just lump it down and then you end up getting brown.
Here's a question for you, Sean.
Sure.
How does CIG use vertex painted regions on the character mesh to cull sections of the body under clothing?
It's interesting. He kind of answered his.
I know, that's what I thought.
He kind of answered his own question while he was answering
it.
No, that's cool. So. To give the full idea of the workflow, we call it zone culling, and it's not really culling and it's not really zones, but that's what we call it. What it is we have some tools in Maya for the characters specifically. It might be easier because there's 3 of them. I don't think so though. I think it's going to fail.
Keep talking.
Are you answering this question?
I'm excited because in my head I'm going, go Jared, and then he fails, and I go, oh, in my head, right?
But what were we talking about?
We were talking about zone culling and vertex colors. So when we make a character asset, we've got some tools that will allow us to project the vertex colors that we need of all the given zones, and I think there's something like 32 32, 38, it changes. So we've got a lot of the different zones that need to call out depending on the attachment that is attached. So whether you're putting a jacket on top of a shirt, on top of a body, we've got to call all the lower layers. And the reason for this is a little bit performance and a little bit, and actually much more clipping. So because when you have dissimilar topology, for example, on the shoulder is a good example, or elbow is an even better example. If you've got an edge here, an edge here, and an edge here for a shirt, and then you put a jacket on, and it's only got an edge here and an edge here, you're still going to get deformation coming through. And there is no way you can fix this. The only way you can really fix it without, actually culling some pieces out would be to keep the exact same topology between all the assets. And that would have required that a long time ago, 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, whenever they started making some of these character assets, that everybody just followed the same topology. Now it's super restrictive for artists, so it's really hard to work with, and it's really hard to maintain that all the way through. So what we came up with instead was an ability to mark these areas up with vertex colors in Maya. Now that doesn't go all the way to the engine, that just tells the tool within Maya, separate this mesh chunk, this mesh chunk, this mesh chunk, and then within our DataForge records we tell a whole bunch of different areas to hide depending on the attachment or the removal of attachment. And there's also partial layers and things like this. But the tech artists deal with this generally. But it's a lot faster than it sounds. We've got a really nice tool that Gage Hallman has been working on. Actually, he's working on it today, even, to make it faster for the character artists to even do it. But what we really need, and Josh and you character artists, stop changing the zones. Stop changing the zones, because then we got to update all the assets every time we do it. So, but yeah, the zone should be pretty good at this point, I think. Anyways. So that's how we do it, and I know a lot of other games do it the same way. I just don't know how they necessarily put their meshes together. For example, I've seen bugs in GTA that I'm like, oh, hey, they're doing the same thing. That's cool. I just don't know how they actually marked up their assets or whatever. So.
Mr. Bender.
Yeah.
When running canned animations like the ship entry and exit, there is currently no way to abort an action once it's started. Is that the intention for the final game?
Abort.
Like I get halfway up the ladder to my ship and then decide, no, I don't want to enter my ship?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
That's why I asked.
From the code, he's a smart feller. So from the code aspect, we actually do have the ability to, when we're playing an animation, to sort of kick out of it. An example of this would be if you, say, threw a grenade at somebody, and they were about to throw a grenade at you, and they explode, they go to ragdoll. Whether design-wise, I don't know what's going on back there, but whether design wants you to be able to have that ability or not, it really becomes a design question. But the way that the animations are authored, they start from the bottom of the ladder and they go up into the seat area. So, I mean, that's really, you could allow the players the ability to interrupt that by, say, pressing the space bar and they jump off. But that would be something that design would need to request from code to be able to.
I've heard ideas, like anyways, I'm not, just ideas that have come from the community. I think we've talked about it before. Like, it might be cool. Oh, geez, it's dangerous to go there. It might be cool, but it might be cool. No, Todd might not agree. Chris might not agree. Steve might not agree, but I think this would be cool. When you're getting in the ship, usually if I'm in a panic and I want this thing to go a lot faster, press. Faster you press, maybe it steps through, different speeds of the animation or whatever. It's just basically button mashing as you're getting into the ship. If you want that thing to go faster, right?
Well, we have, like I said earlier, though, we did shoot, and we do have on the user stories
couple
implemented
speeds, right?
A couple different speeds. So, for instance, the sprint speed. So that if you hold down the sprint button and are executing that gets you into game or gets you into the ship faster. and stuff like that. So it really does come down to
I remember
some, exploring those gameplay aspects.
Yeah, because you had an idea once, and I think it even depended on the rate at which you were approaching your
Yes.
ship, right? Because you liked it where if you were in an all-out run towards your ship, that you would do sort of a slide across the hood of the car type thing. Right?
Yeah, so we've been talking about whether your ship would, so when you go up to your ship, you have to hit the use key and it opens up everything and stuff like this. Well, what if I'm on a run, I'm on a sprint, I got the Vandal horde chasing me, Chuck, get the plane going, Chuck. And as I get near it, it begins to open and I hit that full stride in sprint. But that's not something currently that is, that design was after. They wanted to make sure that was specific, that you were opening that and things like this. So I think with I'm not sure in which aspects they're talking about, whether it's the aspect of just partially getting up the ladder and then hitting the jump button so they can leave the animation, or if it's a matter of exactly what that is.
Right.
I'm not entirely certain.
Another question from the live chat. I lost it. No, you were talking about how you mentioned GTA 5 recently, or GTA. You just said GTA specifically.
Yeah, it was GTA
Do you
5.
let yourself be inspired by other games, or maybe
Totally.
even take over good techniques?
I like how they said that rather than steal, right? Because it's definitely not steal. And yeah, absolutely. Like, and if you're not doing that in any industry that you're in, if you're not, I very realistically compare ourselves against. It's not even competition, but similar things in the same space. The thing I hate doing, personally, and I think a lot of people hate doing this, is resolving a solved problem. This is something that Dennis Crow says all the time, which is really nice, and I like the way he says it, which is he just, if a problem's been solved in a very good way, why go through the trouble of really resolving that? So sometimes I say, well, that's kind of a solved problem. Why don't we do it this way, right? There's, okay, we want to implement whatever it is, a chat system in the game. Okay, cool. There's like, 30 of those. Probably a lot more than 30. But you've got Skype. You've got no, not MSN anymore. I'm kind of showing my tape.
MSN Messenger?
MSN, yeah, AIM. America Online. They have even. I heard.
You guys talk about
But
your MySpace
basically, the
account?
point being, they got
You're the
Slack.
youngest person
they've
at
got
this table, so-
yeah, they've got Slack, Facebook, whatever. So do it the way that they've done it. I mean, it doesn't need to come up with a brand new solution. Don't reinvent the wheel every single time. Sometimes it's a solved problem. So yeah, definitely, I let myself be inspired. Like a great one right now, and I still can't understand why we're not doing this. So hopefully, you guys post on the forums about this, because I'm going to make a big deal about this right now. So you know how cool it is to get into the ships? It's really, really hard to find the damn doors on the ships. If I've not gotten a briefing on a given ship, I have, as one of the tech directors of Star Citizen, been in there for 10, 15 minutes trying to find that door. So but let me, and this is to go back into the question, because playing Zelda, if anybody's played Zelda Breath of the Wild, great game, masterclass in open world design, super cool. But one of the things that they do really well in these Divine Beasts is, and I'm not trying to give any spoilers or anything, but there is
It's been out for over a year.
Yeah. So, but in the Divine Beasts, they have this 3D map view that is phenomenal, because in Zelda you've got, it's like a 3D puzzle within these Divine Beasts. And in that, you have to know where you are, and you have to know where certain switches are within this 3D space. You can rotate the thing around, you even control it, but it's got this great holographic kind of transparent view with really, really bright orange indicators for different things. And it's not dissimilar to what our targeting stuff already does, but that would be a super nice way to be giving that map to the player, so that I know where my door is, or I know where that is. So point being is, I absolutely am looking at other games, and if other people in the industry don't do that, or if other people just in their own industries don't do that, then they're selling themselves short. And sometimes you think, I love what, I don't think we can say what you call it.
Competitive analysis.
Yeah, short for
I do that. I do that a whole lot, actually, because when we're talking about animation for something, or we're talking about a feature and things like this, we'll take a look at. Obviously, we have our own ideas and our own visions as to this. But as Sean said, it's about seeing if anybody else has solved this problem before, how they did it, and it allows us to as well say, okay. This game did this like
Chad
this,
got it.
but we don't want to. We don't want to. I'm glad they got it.
Yeah. They're having fun with it.
We don't want to. We don't want to do it that way, right? Here's an interesting way as to how they solve this. So maybe we go in that direction, but we give it our own spin or something like this.
Yeah,
right?
and that's it, right?
And we've had people. You work in this industry long enough. You have people that come up and go, "Oh, you worked on that thing? Oh yeah, we saw that, and we were like, how did they do that? Because we want that, right? And things like this. So there is a lot of, especially industry-wide and stuff like this. There is a lot of give and take that goes on, and people being inspired by the work of others and things like this. So absolutely.
And it should happen.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
Are we ever going to be able to emote while we're moving, like waving or while people are running?
Oh, I thought you could.
Yeah. We've been looking at, for instance, signals and things like that, right? Things where, emotes is one of those things within an MMO that is that's a living system, and you keep adding and you keep adding and you keep adding. It's a content sort of thing, right? So yes, the idea with emotes and we have them for dancing, we have them for saluting and waving and laughing and various things like this, and the more life that we want to get into the universe, the more animations we're going to be making for those and giving to the players.
Final question. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's coming over our microphones or not, but
The Vandal Horde.
yeah, exactly. It sounds like the Grim Reaper is dragging his scythe around.
All right, well, hey, you want to play 20 questions?
No.
Want to play 20 questions?
Yeah. I got one.
Okay. Are you a mineral?
Yeah.
Are you Tumbrel?
Whoa! Yeah! Excellent!
I tried to no sell it. That's it.
Is that it? Really?
That's it.
That was the last question.
That was the last question.
No.
Dude!
I'm ending it on that.
This was fun.
Sean Tracy, Steve Bender, thank you so much. Do you have any more of these damn things in your pocket? How
We made
many?
a mess of the table, too.
Well, yeah, it's a wood table to soak in the creamer.
I was hoping for him to
Do you have-
drink it.
How many of these did you have?
He's probably got more.
I've got more. I certainly have more. You said you were a wrestling fan, so
Dude, these are
Harkening-
these are at least a quarter each. You are wasting backer money.
Don't.
I look forward to the emails.
Harkening back to
Steve Bender
Yes, send your emails care of Sean
at
Tracy.
rsi.com. No.
All right, we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna play another backer MVP video, and we'll be right back with the wrap up. Stay tuned.